I'm just in a happy bubble, and I was just going to share something, and I realized for folks, this is probably speaking to the choir, yeah, but it's true because ever since I was a little boy, um, and even now, it's true though when you get into the programming about gender and magnets. Okay, so I'll give you an example that when you see somebody visually, right? Because I spent a lot of years in the teaching community as a student and a teacher, right? Feedback. Um, but for example, I was thinking of lay, and lay is a Kanaka Maholi, a spiritual elder, right, in the Hawaiian community. And I used to get a kick out of it when she would be in a discussion with other folks. And when we're getting into genetic engineering and distorted sound waves. And I loved her because she would be to use the English language in the way that we understand is because I am hypersensitive. So I'm very careful about what I say and how I communicate it, when I communicate it, why I communicate it, when I communicate the way that I do. Okay, because I'm like a little child, right? That doesn't want to hurt your feelings. The last thing I ever want to do is hurt your feelings. Okay, because my feelings are so sensitive. It's like every little nerve fiber. I'm so sensitive. When you're fully awake and you're running full sensory capacitor, it's like being hypersensitive. So I'm very, very, it's like being a picky eater, picking the frequencies, like dogs that smell, cats, right? You sense everything is heightened. And so, in other words, if I communicate to you and you see in the visual mirror a male, what is perceived as a male, and we understand what bias perception is, right, as a result of programming. In other words, you're not thinking of me as a magnet. You're perceiving me as you see me visually. So in other words, if I presented myself as the same soul, oversoul, and spirit in a female, and you see a female face, would your reaction state to the same information be different than it is if I was in a male? And the answer is yes. Okay, in the way that gender is programmed into the memory by virtue of the visual display. Okay, the data informs us of that. That's how we know. Because I've been in both. I've been a mother and a father. I'm joined as one. Okay, that's why it's easy for me. For example, when I'm communicating in a window, right, of girls, I've had a lot of friends that I'm choosing to work with, if you will, while I was friending females from all over the world. You would understand there is actually a strategic, there's strategy in that. When you think about how a motherboard operates, connecting heart to heart, nose to nose. You know what a node is, right? Same way you have little points, like when you put a triangle together, you have 3 points, yeah? Just like on a gated Y. Fire engines use gated Ys. So if you want to run 400 feet of fire hose out on a fire, but you start with 1.5-inch line that's connected to a discharge, and then you have a gated Y 200 feet out, and now you have 2 other lines. So you have 1 becomes 3. So you have 1 line that goes into a Y, and now you have 2 lines of the same diameter, putting out the same volume with 50 pounds of pressure at the end of each line, even though you started with 1. Yeah. Okay, so like connecting nodes, connecting dots, points on a map, right? In the way that neurons communicate with other neurons, right? Nerves, the central nervous system. So when you're not experiencing any tension whatsoever between 2 magnets, between a male and a boy or a boy and a girl, you're experiencing being one, that's a blast furnace. You're a monastic, you're a monastery, you're a temple of light, the temple of one. Right? A monopole, a single pole, join as one. So you're doing a dance with a girl. and so I have fun with this sometimes, right? But it's not funny, particularly when you realize how that works. And when it comes to doing jobs like this, if you were to examine my timeline, and what I can tell you is I wouldn't have been able to do what it is that I needed to do in the time frame in which I had to get it done in a female avatar versus in a male avatar. Okay, and I don't have time on this phone to explain how all that works, but use your imagination. When you're in an energy harvesting system, when you get into the male dominant side or the one magnet side or the negative magnetic side, negative magnetic space, when you get into the polarities, bi-voltage, being perfectly balanced, fully integrated. Now I'm non-polarized. There's no charge. Man, you're running on direct current. That's the point. Okay? The first point. Man, I'm direct current. Right? Yeah, of course. Anyway, have a good evening. We love you all. Be good to yourselves. Oh, here's an epitaph. No, not an epitaph, but thank you all that were out there today.